And we're on. Welcome to the first bell here again. We're in the Your Call. So it's a nice, iconic venue, of course. Love this place. Have you boxed here before?
I boxed here actually. I won the Junior ABAs here back in 1989. And I boxed here, I think it was my 5th fight as a pro as well. What about you? Did you win the WBF title here?
Heavyweight.
Heavyweight. He's the WBF heavyweight champion.
Heavyweight, my friend. I gave it up straight away though.
Is it still around?
Yeah,
Does it exist?
I call it the We Believe You belt. So that was my heavyweight career over and done with. I boxed Lou Gent here as well, so it was not bad night.
Yeah. And there's something magical about this place, right? Like every time I mean, this fight that's going on here tonight, once this has gone out, obviously we'll know the result, but Isaac Chamberlain versus Mikael Lawal, that fight was originally taking place at the O2.
Yeah. It'll
be different in there tonight because of this. There's something magical about this that brings out the best in fighters, and I think that's what we see on these. You get a lot of small hall shows here, don't you? You get wicked fights.
And you've got to remember, most, I say 90-95% of the big names that box here in the UK have come out here world champions, have boxed here at some point in their career, and it is that place.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. It's like it's close enough to hear everything and be intimidated by everything, but it's just right. I suppose it's like having a gym fight, but it's bang on. Let's get down to business.
Yeah.
Next week, of course, Tyson Fury against Ngannou. The momentum's built and built and built and built. You're on the inside track. Any news? Any info?
No news, no info. Only that we know the fight's going ahead. Obviously on Saturday night. Look, what do we know? The event is going to be absolutely insane. Yeah. We're going to see that unfold. I think they've got every living ex-heavyweight champion in the world's going to be there. Ronaldo's going to be there. David Beckham's going to be there. It's going to be a massive event.
Listen,
as a fight, it's very one-sided.
They've gone out and they've paid these people to be there because they want this fight to be seen and to draw all the attention left, right and centre. So I know for a fact they've paid these stars to turn out. Any star in boxing that's there, any star in football that's there, and to do that, they want to give it that star-studded feel. It just shows the attraction that boxing is and the intrigue that some people will, on the Ngannou side, think this guy's got a really good chance.
There's a crossover fight where the people from his world, the UFC world, MMA, believe that he is going to be victorious. I mean, Johnny, I want to ask you a question. What's your views on the criticism that the fight's taken now that we know the Undisputed? And I don't know if you saw on the Michael Benson thing on Twitter today, he was saying that fight with Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Undisputed, December the 23rd, looks nailed on. But what's your views on the criticism of this fight going ahead now we know that the Undisputed's happening?
Okay, so again, it's not been announced by the Fury camp. It's not been announced by the Usyk camp. So I've always kind of poo-pooed to say, when the deal's done, it's only because I've learned my lesson. When the deal's done, when we've got a venue, when we've got a date, then I'll start to get giddy and excited about it. Is it disrespectful to Ngannou, the Ngannou fight? Does it tell the fans this is a pushover? So if you want to come, you want to come, or we're going to try and make out as though this is a dangerous fight. I think this fight is about Tyson Fury. Again, going out there and displaying who he is, what it's about. And if you're a Tyson Fury fan, you're going to watch it. In reality, people from our world, you could call it boxing snobbery, we'd look at this and think, Ngannou's got a puncher's chance, and that's it. Even though Mike Tyson and co have gone in there and got on Ngannou's team to try and give him advice, give him a bit of support. And that's really kind of peed off Tyson Fury and co because they're thinking, I've been named after Mike Tyson. What are you doing?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
That I find funny. I think.
I mean, what's your views on Mike Tyson? Listen, we know Mike Tyson is a great student of the game. He's a great historian of the sport. He studies things. You know, he's a great tactician, right? He's trying to implement that stuff now into Francis Ngannou. One, has he got the time to do that? Two, has Francis Ngannou got the ability to be able to take that on board and cause Tyson Fury any problems? My beliefs are no, because of what I've seen of him within the training and everything. Yeah, he looks decent. He looks all right at a level. But we're talking about the world #1 heavyweight here, you know, pound for pound in Tyson Fury. We know he boxes well on the front foot, back foot. He can have a fight, right? So you go, well, Ngannou's got a puncher's chance. Of course he's got a puncher's chance, but he's got to get his feet in range to do that. Will Fury allow that to happen?
I think Ngannou's too small. And I know you know his supporters will say, Nelson, you don't want to talk about. He punches unbelievably hard. So did Deontay Wilder. I think he's not smart enough technically as a boxer to get that close to Tyson Fury to hurt him. Now, one punch changes everything. So a lax in concentration, like we saw with Lee Wood and Josh Warrington.
yeah.
A lapse in concentration could switch a fight round in a heartbeat.
Well,
Is Tyson Fury that silly to do that?
Yeah.
Can it be? Is he that arrogant to do that? I don't believe so. I think Tyson Fury, when it comes to the fight game, when it comes to the bell going, he gets the job done. He's not going to give a man a chance that hasn't got one.
So what's your thoughts then? Like, just rewinding a little bit, like I say, now this fight is going ahead, but we know what's happening in the future. Possibly December the 23rd is a fight that's been, a date that's been talked about now and looks more realistic, or it's going to be the early part of next year. But what's your thoughts now from a business point of view? I think it's genius from Tyson Fury that he's taken this fight because he's getting the best part of 30 million quid or something, and
he's a prize fighter.
And he's got a lot of criticism for it, but now what we know, actually, it's gone absolutely nuts. Can you believe they've started the music? Can you believe that? Yeah, but now we know what's happening in the future. Surely it's a genius move.
Tyson Fury is a prize fighter. We all get in this game, one, because we love fighting, and two, because we want to make some mad dough. So you cannot blame him for what he's doing. He's making some mad dough out of it for fighting a guy that's never had a professional fight. You can't blame him. Anybody would do it. So even though we might get poo-pooed and criticised, he's doing what fighters do, making mad money.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that at all. The event itself, I think the event itself, as you said, it'll be star-studded. The fight itself may cause one or two eyebrow raisers, but I just don't see a realistic chance for Ngannou, apart from the only way this fight is lost by Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
Underestimating, giving it away, thinking, nah, this is a walk in the park. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
I want to talk about a fight that's on the undercard. Fabio Wardley, the British heavyweight champion, against David Adelaide. Now that is a good fight. That is a really good fight. Who do you think wins that?
I think initially when Fabio Wardley came on the scene, I kind of didn't.
You weren't sold.
Give him the credit, give him the respect he deserves because of his background when he came from. Now I'm sold on him. I think this guy, he can fight. He's a formidable heavyweight on a domestic level. Every time he's been put to be tested, he's stepped up to the plate and got that job done. I'm very interested to see when him and Fraser Clark do fight. They will fight, and I'm told.
Well, if he doesn't lose to Adelaide.
Yeah, I'm told behind the scenes, next time that fight is on the table, it's happening no matter what.
Right.
Boxer side are more than happy to get that done. And so they had to lose a battle to win a war in regards to pulling Fraser out of the first opportunity that had happened. So as long as he wins against Adelaide, which I believe he does.
You do?
Yeah, I believe he wins against Adelaide, and I think in doing that, that makes him a fighter that any doubts, any suspicions about his ability as a domestic contender, especially at British, at European level, that should shut it out.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking slightly different with that fight. With David Adelaide, I think this is a coming-of-age fight for him. Yeah. I think that I've known him since the amateurs, since he boxed with our youth, watched him develop as a young amateur, coming through and going through the pro ranks. And I just think that he will have too much, David Adelaide. I think that he will, I think he wins the fight inside the distance.
See, the problem is, Bennett, I struggle to respect, and I was one of those fighters, I struggle to respect the pedigree of an amateur fight in the professional game.
I get it.
Yeah, I totally understand that. So I'm not intimidated by that. I'm not impressed by what you've done as an amateur. I'm impressed by what you do as a professional. Remember,
has he not impressed you, Adelaide, particularly as a pro?
That's what,
Who was it that he boxed?
I had 13 amateur fights. I won 3.
Yeah.
I ended up being world champion. And on that way, I boxed and beat a lot of accomplished amateurs that had turned professional, that had won gold medals in championships, stuff like that, and moved turned professional. To me, it doesn't mean jack diddly. And so people that are weighing towards Adelaide because of that, I think they're making a fatal mistake.
See, I'm going towards Adelaide because of me seeing him in the amateurs going, you're going to be suited to the pros. Yeah. And I think that's where it is. And like I say to you, look, it's one of them fights, it's a flip 'em. That is a great fight, to be fair.
Listen,
it's a 50-50 fight.
And this is why you Fraser Clark, when he looks at Yardley, he thinks, you know what? You should be in there with me. And I think that's a really good fight. I think it's a good fight for both fighters.
Listen, the winner of that, let's jump forward. Let's get a little bit of fantasy going on here. Adelaide and Fabio Wardley, the winner of that comes through. Let's say they box Fraser Clark next. Has Fraser Clark got the ability to beat the winner of that, or is that...
Fraser Clark has the ability and Fraser Clark has the experience. The thing is he capable of bringing it to the table at the right time? Because Fraser Clark, time is everything. Fraser Clark, the experience and the people he sparred with all the top heavyweights that are out there now. So he's frustrated because he's thinking, I've been in the ring with you lot in the gym, so it's my time to get there now. on paper, Fraser Clark should get this job done on paper. In reality, it's a completely different ball game because up to now, Fraser Clark, he's not really stood out to think, oh my God, this guy's going to be X, Y, Z. He's been a slow burner. So we're waiting for that fight to look at Fraser and think, there you are, he's one of them.
Do you think these kids are good enough, you know, your David Adelaide's, you know, Fabio Wardys, etc., are good enough to take the baton from people like the current crop? And we talk about AJ next. I want to talk about AJ next, but we've got Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. You know, they're all getting on a little bit. Anthony Joshua only, I think he's only 33 years of age, but I mean, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, I don't know how long he's going to be around. He's been talking about signing another 10-fight deal, by the way. I don't know what he's going on about there. I don't know if that's reality or not. But do you think these younger crop are good enough to take over from the...
Obviously at the moment, no, but like the older crop, you've got to look at them when they came through, what was said about them, the expectations and the naysaying that was said about these guys, and now they're top of the tree. So it's the pyramid of life, the pyramid of boxing, and the landscape changes. So you've got to look at the finished article, you look at the age of this younger crop now, and you think, right, you're at an age now where you know the established fighters were well ahead of you at this stage in their career. So, but I think your Tyson Furies, I think your Anthony Joshua's, and your Wilders, I think within a year, 15 months, they'll be gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do think they'll be out of the game. I think they'll be looking at the management side, the promotion side, the business side of the game, and it's just the pyramid of the fight game. That's all it is.
What's your thoughts on Anthony Joshua now, where he goes now? Because, I mean, now they've announced that Undisputed fight. I mean, I've been quite vocal about it. I said, well, this puts pressure on these guys now because we can't have no more sort of play around sort of fights and, you know, ticking over fights and rebuilding confidence sort of fights. He has to, for me, go into a real fight. Someone like Zhale Zhang, I think, would be a great fight for him. Yeah, Hrgovic is obviously out there. He's hanging around waiting for that IBF shot. You got Otto Wallin. So I reckon what will happen is Undisputed happens, then the IBF may order that, so that title will become vacant. So forget that the rematch between Joshua Usyk, if that happens. The IBF becomes vacant. You got Otto Wallin versus Filip Hrgovic. They fight for the vacant there. Anthony Joshua's number 3 in there, so he'd be next in line for that. I mean, where do you see Anthony Joshua's career now, and who do you see as a valuable opponent?
I've said it before. I think Anthony Joshua now is in a position where he's got to own the fighter he is. I heard somewhere that he's gone away on some retreat to be alone, you know, with his thoughts. And I've heard about these retreats where you can't speak to anybody. There's no phone, there's no nothing. You're just stuck with your own thoughts, and that's what it is. You can be there for 10 weeks, 10 days, whatever it is. If that is true, I'm into that. I actually thought that is the best thing for you. You're by yourself.
Yeah, but Anthony Joshua's a thinker.
That's what I'm saying.
That's I think been half the problem in the ring, where, you know, Johnny, it's got to be instinctive, right? It just happens
and that's
done.
That's what I'm saying. So when I heard that, and because I believe in that kind of, the mind is so strong, so important, I think if that benefited anybody, it benefits Anthony Joshua.
Right, okay.
So if it's hearsay and he's not done it, do it.
Yeah.
If he is doing it, the best thing he could do, because right now he's gone through every opportunity experienced at this stage of his career to have no second chances left, to have no, well, he's only here. He's a former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. So it's not like, well, you know, he's just not ready yet. He's ready. So in regards to getting in with your Wilders and people like that, I said don't get in with him next, because his confidence and ability are no longer matching up, and they need to match up again. So when I heard this about him going in this retreat, I thought, I hope that's true, because if it is true, then that is the best thing for him, because right now, you know, there's no second chance. There's no like, well, he's just learning. This has got to be it.
Yeah. I mean, give me a roadmap for Anthony Joshua, right? His next 3 fights. I mean, give me an ideal roadmap into the world heavyweight title for Anthony Joshua if he doesn't get beat in his next 3 fights. Where do we start? Who would you like to see him in with next?
Well, it's the case. What I would like to see on the possibilities. The possibilities of fighting Wilder are there. I'd make sure he had.
That definitely doesn't happen next, though.
Doesn't? Oh no, no way.
No,
I wouldn't advise
next,
something yet.
Next, I think you're looking at.
I'd go Hrgovic.
I would go. I think Hrgovic is a great opponent. I think that Zhale Zhang is a great opponent. They've got history,
I get that, but
that's where they're at.
In reality,
and his stock's risen.
Yeah. So Zhang, So his stock's risen, but in reality, who is he beating? Who is he beating? That's
Joe Joyce twice. But what I'm saying is off the back of that.
He's beaten Joe Joyce.
And he beat Filip Hrgovic, but never got the decision.
So who's it at top tier? So now I'd actually go in there and make a statement. Now, and so I'd say Hrgovic. because you look at Hrgovic, and Hrgovic is a very temperamental fighter where he switches off partway through, but he's a very talented fighter, and he's a very experienced fighter, and he's one that they've got to try and avoid or keep an eye on. So I'd say him. Then I don't know what the situation with Tyson Fury is. I don't know what the situation with Wilder is. But
would you like to see a trilogy with Andy Ruiz Jr.?
No.
Because he's thrown his name in the hat as well.
Get out of it. Get out of that. You've done your job. Get out of it. Stay out of that, because he's a bogeyman. He's a mistake. He's a heartache for everybody going out there. And Ruiz Jr. basically is now in a position where he's either outpriced himself to get the fights. Yeah. You know, he's now exposed himself. Everybody knows who he is, how dangerous he is. So if they don't have to fight him, they won't fight him. Right. Or they want to get paid a shed load of money. This is why he's not. How many top fights has he had? What, over the last 2 years? Is it one? Yeah. Maybe two. And because he's now in that position where, realistically, the public weren't aware of how talented this guy was until Anthony Joshua got in with him. Now you're thinking, I'm not going to take him for granted.
He's the chairman of the who needs him, who wants him.
Exactly. So I'd go Hrgovic. I'd do Wilder. And then if the Fury fight comes off and he gets through it, if he gets through Wilder, then Fury, his pride and ego will think, this has got to happen now. Sure. No more messing about. That's how I'd go about it. But that's if he gets through. That's if he gets through Wilder.
It's a tough road back.
It's a tough. If you're at the top, it's tough. Yeah. You know, and I do believe he believes he's capable of doing it, but he's got to believe he's capable of applying it. He's got to be in there. He's got to listen to the voice in his head and know what's out there, outside.
Before we move on to something totally different. The KSI stuff that happened last week. I was there actually, and I want to get into that a little bit about the numbers, etc. What you thought of the fight? You know, what you thought of him sort of jumping up and down like he had a pongo stick up his ass, which was a very strange tactic anyway. But it sort of worked.
Almost worked, man. Almost worked. I know.
But before we get into that, let's do a summary of the heavyweights then. Like what's going on this Saturday. Fabio Wardley, David Adelaide, who do you think wins and how?
Wardley, I think he wins points on points, but it's going to be a tough fight, and I think towards the back end of the fight, Wardley takes over and runs away with it. So the championship rounds, that's when he comes through. I think Tyson Fury gets it inside the stoppage range. First half of the fight, I don't think he goes past the second half of the fight. Yeah. And so to me, I think that's how I see it happening. Yeah. And the script and the heavyweight rise and stays pretty much the same.
See, I'm going David Adelaide inside 8 to 10 rounds. Yeah, I think he gets a late stoppage. Yeah. I think Adelaide wins. I think that he'll just gradually wear him down. I think it'll be a bit of a ding-dong and a battle, and one of them's going to have to come undone, and I think that'll be Wardley. Okay. So I'm going to put my neck on the line and go David Adelaide wins inside the distance. And with Tyson Fury, I think he plays around with Ngannou, slowly, systematically busts him up, breaks him up, and we see a stoppage in about 4 or 5 rounds.
Okay, let's go Manchester.
Let's get it out there. We've got to do it. We have to talk about it because, fuck me, the numbers were insane. Listen to this.
That I heard, you lot had 2.2 million on TalkSport.
Johnny, yeah, but let me tell you, 2.2 million people watched us, watching the fight, commentating. Damn. You couldn't see. Look, can you see the ring in the back here? Matt, can you see the ring in the back here? You can see the ring in the back here. You could not see that when we were commentating. 2.2 fucking million people watching it. That's the appetite for it. Yeah. Across all the platforms, we have 1.9 million on Twitter watching it. And then something else, and I'll just go.
Ringside tickets went to £2,000 a piece.
Insane. So
you couldn't get tickets.
So what was your thoughts? Like, so I'm gonna go like, look, as an event, I thought it was great, right? And it was packed from 7 o'clock. I think they've got it spot on with what they do, like from the entertainment value, the ring walks and everything else. And I understand it's a younger generation. The demographic is totally different. It's younger kids, parents with their kids, etc. Watching their heroes. Boxing's the umbrella. It's boxing stroke WWE stroke. You know what I mean? Like entertainment, whatever it is. Yeah. But it's. I mean, from that point of view, was good. I think the big criticism about it is like what we got at the press conference when you go, KSI, who's got 50 million followers, and he's saying, listen, Spence, the reason I've done this, he said, I fell into boxing, and he said, no, I really fell in love with it. He said, but what I recognised was I was living a bad life. Yeah. I was drinking too much, going out partying too much. Boxing showed me, taught me my life skills, discipline, self-respect, to get up in the morning, go and do your show. And he said, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I recognise that I've got 50 million kids that watch me, and it's going to inspire them. And then in the press conference, he's spitting. And I go, well, what are you giving off on that? If these kids are watching that, and then looking and thinking, is that the right behaviour? So, what example are you setting? It's exactly right. So, I mean, what was your thoughts on it as a whole?
My thoughts on this was, I bet you from the second the doors opened, these kids were in there with their packed lunch and their parents sat there.
Yeah.
But usually at these shows,
Johnny,
people are rolling about maybe 8:30, 9:30 just before the main fight.
1 p.m. Right? 1 fucking p.m. outside the AO Arena in Manchester. There was a mile-long queue.
Yeah.
And the show didn't open till 5.
It's a sign of the times, and it's sign, and like it or not, we're classed as the old boys, so we're thinking it's boxing snobbery. You've got to move with it and accept. Listen, things are looking. This is how things are looking. Now the business model for what they're doing is brilliant. It's perfect. This is why I keep saying traditional fighters need to learn off this and invest in themselves and start pushing. Start from day dot.
What can they learn though? Is it like self-promotion? That's where I'm at with it.
Self-promotion. Get your mates to follow you around and do what they're doing. Follow your life. Just be you.
Yeah.
You know, and making sure it's out there, and you build up your following, and that's what it is. You build up your social media following and interest, then half the job's done. If you're leaving it to your promoter or your manager, then
the world's changed.
It's changed. It's changed.
Yeah. I mean, when we were boxing, what we done in there, if you was good in there, everything else come with it.
But that's why we only got so far.
But now we found ourselves in a world where if you do it's how big you are out here, social media, and then if you're good in there, you're a fucking superstar.
So when we box, remember the ones that's shown out were your Nigel Benns, were your Princess Hamids, were your Chris Eubank Jr. Why? Because these people there was something different about them where they captured the granny's imagination. They had that crossover appeal. So basically, these misfits, these YouTubers, they've done it back to front. They can't fight, but they've grabbed the imagination of their demographic. So that again. Now the fight itself, you look at what KSI did. KSI, whatever the mindset is in his camp was this. I know Tommy Fury's a boxer. He's boxed. He's got a lot more miles on the clock in me in regards to what he's got to do. So I've got to do something different here. I think what he's doing, even though it looked stupid at times, would have actually worked if he could finish it off. Yeah. So even though he was doing star jumps and jumping around and then throwing 1 or 2 shots in, if he'd have landed with them, you could have given him the fight. For Tommy Fury was sticking to the traditional fight thing, saying, come and stand and fight me. Now, the worst thing he could have done, KSI, was give him what he wanted. He didn't give him what he wanted, he made it awkward for him. So for Tommy Fury was this, he was in there with a smaller KSI. He got the job done, he got the win. Where in reality does Tommy Fury stand on a domestic level as a cruiserweight in this country as a fighter? And in answering that, where does he go after this? Because he's boxed one of the Pauls, he's boxed KSI. Does he step over? And he's got paid shitload of money.
Got 5 million quid for it.
Okay,
so do you want to go back?
Yeah. But the thing is, what opportunities are there? Still there for him. Who wants to fight him in the misfits? Yeah. Right. So therefore, if he wants to say, well, I want to be authentic and I want to get into boxing, in reality, is he above Southern Area level? Yeah. Is it because I know a handful of fighters.
So how difficult would it be for him now, although he's from the boxing world, he says he wants to go back and he wants to continue his boxing career, he wants British titles, he wants world titles, or whatever, wherever level he's at. What I'm saying is he got 5 million quid for the other night, right? Now he's got to go back and then let's say, like you say, is at area title level, right? So say he boxes for a Midland area title, right? So say that happens, what's he going to get for that? 10 grand? 15 grand?
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, can he make those adjustments?
Making the adjustments is this. He's now in a position where the money is no object for him because he lives comfortably for a guy of his ability. He'll have his house, he'll financially be okay and invest it correctly. Does he want to go down the authentic route and be a fighter? So therefore, he's not going to get paid that kind of money. He'll get paid a little bit more than anybody else domestic at this stage because of the profile he's built. But in reality, where does he go? Does he take the risk of getting turned over as a domestic fighter, then blowing the opportunities of 2 and 3 million here? If he goes down the misfit route, who does he fight now? He's boxed KSI. Will he be a rematch? I don't think it will be a rematch because KSI would not commit to that.
What about Jake Paul?
Jake Paul will look and think, you know what, that's the only maybe that's left. But then after that, then what?
But I think we actually see KSI Jake Paul next.
Yeah, well, that's what I see. So what does Tommy Fury do?
Yeah.
Does he wait with a begging more saying, Jake Paul, come and fight me, please? Or does Jake Paul develop on me and say, nah, I'm not interested in you? Yeah. Because they're the 3 big names in the YouTube world, the misfit world. Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and KSI. So once they're out of the mix, who does Tommy Fury fight? Does he come back to the fold and get turned over by a a top 20, a top 30 fighter, and then affects his brand? Or does he walk away and think, you know what, I've done all right, you know, realistically, do I think I'll be a world champion? No. Do I think I'll be a European? No. Do I think I can be a British champion? I still don't know, but I made a load of dough. This is the decision. This is, if he tries to fool you to say, I want to be this, I want to be that, we can all want to be something. But in reality, can he be anything more than what he is as a fighter in a traditional sport of boxing, or will he try and get down that mixed route and find another big fighter for himself?
What's your thoughts on the YouTube boxing? Is it damaging or enhancing the sport?
Enhancing. You look at the crowds, you look at the business. I'm telling you, you look at the crowds, look at the business.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm a believer of that as well. I believe that, I'm a believer of that. I really do. I think it's capturing a different different generation, a younger generation, and a different, different people. Yeah. And I think that can only be beneficial for the sport.
And that's what I'm saying. And that the young generation of fighters will be looking at that, and they'll want that, and all of a sudden they'll start being like that. Tonight there's Joe Law. He's boxing. You'll see the result afterwards. Joe Law, I like the kid. Yeah. He's got a potty mouth.
Yeah. But he rolls the dice.
He's one of those kids that you want to watch him and actually want him to win because if he wins, he's fighting Michael Hennessy. You only want to win because if he wins, it's going to be an amazing, interesting journey for the young man, because it's something to talk about. This kid, he just has that something about him.
Yeah,
so he's one of those kids that would get that crossover appeal because he's like the boy next door.
Yeah.
So fighters need to understand, create that character.
A character for yourself.
Be a business.
Yeah.
And if you're a business, you're in.
Nice.
So we've got 10 minutes to roll. Let's just hit
talk about the
news of the week, of the past week. Buatsi and Dan Aziz, the conspiracy theories, the whys, the wants, and what should be done, what shouldn't be done, who should say what. What's your take on the backlash, the conspiracy theories, the fight not happening?
Yeah.
What's your take on it? What's your opinion of it? Well, I know you know the stuff on the inside. So film me.
Listen, I was disappointed. I don't know if you saw the interview that Frank Smith done. Yeah. By the way, an interview with Frank Smith saying, well, you know, it's 1,500 seats I heard they sold, and well, you know what? I don't know. Was it 1,500? I'm going, well, you're sort of saying it, not saying it. Well, let me tell you, like, they sold a lot more seats than that. We know that anyway from the inside.
It was nothing
to do with the inside. I was disappointed with Eddie Hearn's comments as well, saying that he had heard the fight was going to go through, you know, sort of weeks before. Because when we heard we got Dan Aziz on Talk Sport, and he was talking about Eddie sort of damaging his position, his reputation, you know, what he's trying to stand for, where he comes from, the young kids that he's trying to inspire. He said, he's not that guy. And Dan Aziz ain't that guy. He's not that guy. He said, I wouldn't pull out for any other reason. He said, Spence, why am I doing this on Zoom now and not coming into the studio? I come on here because I want to have a voice. Right? He's a very intelligent guy, actually, and he was very good in what he said. He said he'd pulled basically in his last training session, and I did say, to be fair, like I said in the week, I said, look, it's very unusual. But it can happen because, Johnny, as you know, when you're tight at the weight and your body's tweaked, anything can happen. He said, I felt a twinge in my back. And he said, didn't think too much of it. Then he was continuing. Then he said, it was like a trapped nerve that he's got in his back. So he said he finished the session. He said it just got progressively worse. When he got it checked, and they said, there's no way you can fight with that. He said, trust me, I was gutted on it. It was a life career biggest payday. Yeah. He said, so I would never have pulled out on that. And it was the opportunity to box for a world title because it was a final eliminator. Now, he took also a lot of criticism because I've seen a few remarks saying, well, what do you mean it was the opportunity to fight Dimitri Bivol because he had pulled out from Bivol before and Joshua Buatsi had pulled out from the Bivol fight before? Well, guess what? You've got to understand the business and what goes on. They don't pull out of the fight just because they don't want to fight Dimitri Bivol. They pull out of the fight because the terms are not right. The terms are not right because, like actually, if you take that fight, you're getting tied into X, Y, Z. You've got to understand the business of it. So when people are looking at the surface and saying, well, he's pulled out of that fight, so why would it, you know, it's a lot more to it than that when you know the business side of it and what goes on behind the scenes. And I think so, as a fighter, you know that both of them would fight Dimitri Bivol in a heartbeat because that's your dream, to box for the world title. Yeah. And Dimitri Bivol...
If you're going to go in that situation, you want to give yourself the best possible chance.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Fighters don't bubble, trust me. Not many fighters bubble. My take on it was this. you have got an element of fighters that can be paid off, that can be bought off, that can step aside. Dan Aziz is not that guy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we're ex-fighters, you know who you're not going to back fighters up that you think are that guy. Dan Aziz is a fighter that went to Italy with no TV, went to box. He's an old school fighter, old school fighting mentality. And when the news came out, doesn't mean that's when the accident happened. It meant it could have happened the week before. It meant that he's thinking, he's trying to hide that first from everybody else, because in his head, he's thinking, I can get through this. But it got to a point where, you know what, I've got to fess up. I can remember when I snapped my patella tendon, the last sparring session of the last round, when I should have boxed Enzo Maccarinelli. I was laid in my hospital bed. I was reading stuff saying Nelson's pulled out of the fight, he's bottled it. I've got pins in my knee.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you people don't know Jack Diddley. And I'm telling you now, with Dan, he is not that guy.
Nah.
And so in regards to what Eddie said probably 2 or 3 weeks before, somebody came out with a great analogy, and it was, even a blind squirrel finds a knot. You know, what I'm saying is it was just a shot in the dark, it was just a chance, and I'm quite sure you can find many other occasions when that was said. So it was just an off-the-cuff comment that we can blow up into something that I knew something. It ain't Nostradamus, he knew something. I think that people understand, you've got to stop listening to the noise, because once anything happens, we can all create a conspiracy theory that fits the objective. But and Danny's not that guy, and if you know him, he's not that guy, and so it was very unfair. But then again, you've got to look at how they had to turn it around, because that fight just didn't affect Dan and Buatsi because they weren't fighting. It could have affected all the guys that were fighting on that undercard. So they moved it to your call. Had to pick up the pieces, still got on with it. And so all these fighters are still getting paid. All these fighters are still getting it's not like football where you can say, we'll do it the week after. When you train for a fight, you train for a date. Anything over that, you've overtrained. Anything under that, you've undertrained.
And to answer the questions with people saying, well, you know, there's been rumours that there was 7,500 seats sold, there was 10,000 seats sold. Well, why are we doing it at your corner in 1,500 seater? Well, guess what? There's only 4 bouts on here. There's only 4 bouts going on here now, so people are going to get refunded money, or when the fight goes ahead again, they are allowed to go to the new date.
So you'll see. I've said once a few places. I think Ben, in regards to how he's dealt with this, he's not really done many interviews around it. I wouldn't, in my opinion. I said to Ben, Ben, you should do a breakfast club. And I know the old time promoters used to do it. A breakfast club one day a month. Get the reporters there, put some food on for them, make them feel sweet, make them come inside the room, and let them ask you whatever they want. Put it in a controlled environment. And then when they ask the questions, you answer it, and the rest of the time, don't answer squat diddly. The reason why Ben should do that is because Ben is not like Eddie, where Eddie, I've said it, he can talk his way out of a flying bullet that's been aimed at him. He's not on his feet. So Ben's got to think, digest, and what happens is sometimes Ben will say the wrong thing. It's a human error, it's human mistake, so therefore it makes it look worse than what it is. I said, Ben, don't do interviews. Do it once a month at your breakfast club, let the press come in, and then you deal with it that way. Because when this guy sits down, he's actually very articulate, he's on the point. But not many people are very good, boom, when it's straight on them. There's only one Eddie.
Absolutely.
You know, there's only, and that's
Listen,
what I'm saying. That's
he can sell fucking snow to the Eskimos.
That's what I'm saying.
Eddie Hearn is that guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, be you. And so in doing that way you control the narrative, and people respect you for being you. And that, I think, he's done right. Not saying jack shit about it. He's given the explanation and left it at that. I think Hardy's turned it around, and the thing they're missing is this NBC deal. Now, let me give you some facts and figures on this. NBC were the first ones that aired boxing. 1939, I think it was Max Baer. They've showed everybody from Ali, Sugar Ray, everybody. So they were the original Don Gargons when it comes to airing boxing. Now, Boxer and Sky have come into a union and working with NBC. Their Peacock, their flagship streaming channel, which they own.
So Comcast, who bought Sky, own NBC, is that right?
NBC, correct. Peacock, who stream it, they have 25 million subscribers in America. That's more than anybody. Not saying any names, more than anybody. So that means all these fighters that are now on Peacock via NBC have an opportunity of being spotted stateside, have an opportunity of you know what, the Americans love the crowd. Americans love a UK fighter that can put bums on seats. Now these fighters have got a great opportunity. This has been missed
So
because
every boxer show that goes on to NBC, goes on to Peacock streaming.
Peacock streams it. NBC can pick it up and say, "We'll have that. We'll put it on our main channel." So it's like I suppose it's like DAZN.
Yeah.
DAZN, they're a streaming channel. So DAZN, what they do is that they put it out there, and they've got the subscriptions, they've got the numbers. They've got 25 million. NBC have got 25 million over there in the States. So it's not just a UK audience you've got an American audience, the world have got it as well. So the opportunity for all these guys that are even fighting tonight, not just the Boats and the people like Dean fighting tonight, they've got an opportunity of being seen stateside by over 25 million extra eyes on them. So can you imagine the opportunities that are made for them? All this has been lost amongst the conspiracies that are being thrown out there. And listen, it's competition. Of course, one promoter is going to want to trip over another promoter. That's just human nature. But stop listening to the noise. Look at the facts. Look at the individual. Look at Dan and say, you know what? He ain't that guy. He's not that guy. And so on this occasion, you've got to think, you know what? I've got to wipe my lips and shut up. Take it from the lion's mouth. Don't take it from third, fourth-hand information.
Absolutely, totally agree. And I'll tell you another thing that I know as well. Speaking to Dan Aziz on Thursday, and he was great on that. If you haven't seen that, go back and have a look on the TalkSport YouTube channel. You can have a look at Dan Aziz's interview because he was so good, so articulate, and he was seriously hurt that people would think that he would pull out the fight for whatever reason. But what he was saying is the fight does go ahead. Me and Joshua Boatsy, he doesn't think it happens before Christmas because he needs time to heal, and he reckons it'll happen early part of next year. It will go ahead, right?
I've heard the date, but I'm not at liberty to say when the date is. So this fight's going ahead. So I think time's up.
Yeah.
Referee's
Are we running out of time?
Referee's counting.
Shit! I was going to ask you one more question as well. Was it this side of Christmas or next side or after Christmas? But we'll have to leave it there.
Yeah, we'll have to leave it there. Maybe next week.
Got you out of trouble there, bro.